In the last video, we talked a little bit about the gear and setup that I use for working from home and how my home office arrangement has kind of evolved over the last 20 to 25 years. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more seriously about the business aspects of working from home, a little bit of the psychology of working from home as well. Hiya folks, welcome back to the Small Business Toolbox. I'm Andy Mack and I've been self-employed or running my own business for the best part of 25 years, thereabouts, on and off. I've also spent a long time working in the corporate field as well, so I'm very familiar with what it's like to work in big open plan offices, and I'm also very familiar with what it's like to work completely on your own from home in a home office such as this. And this particular home office is in our dining room. We have nowhere else really to set it up. We're in a rental property at the moment, and this is kind of part of the experiment of working from home, because we've tried every conceivable scenario of putting the home office in various different rooms in the house, and we wanted to give it a try, putting it in the kind of hub of the house, in the kitchen. It's open plan. We've got living room through there, we've got kitchen through there, dining room here. We're right in the hub of it all. And yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But this video is all going to be about, as I say, the business and psychological aspects of working from home. Something you need to prepare for if you've only just started working from home, because it's a lot of people kind of view working from home as a perk, and that is not necessarily true. I genuinely miss working in a big open plan office where I could see my friends and colleagues every day, and you get to chat and you get to just hang out with people, and you get to maybe arrange to go for a drink after work and all that. All of that disappears when you start working from home, and you start to appreciate that, yeah, there are definitely perks to being kind of in your own space, but there's also a lot of downfalls as well, so you need to be prepared for that. If you're used to working in an office environment and you've now maybe been working from home for the last 6 to 12 months because of everything that's been going on, then you're probably starting to come to the realization that working from home isn't all that it's cracked up to be. There are pros and cons, and I just want to kind of be realistic about it, and also give you a few tips for how to handle things a little bit better. Because trust me, if you've been doing this for as long as I've been working from home, then you do start to go a little bit crazy if you don't take certain things into consideration, and hopefully that'll help. And firstly, one of the major benefits of working from home, obviously, is that you don't need to be in your work clothes all the time. You can wear something more comfortable. Personally, I hate wearing a shirt and a tie and a suit. I'll wear it when I have to, don't get me wrong. There are definitely very good reasons where you absolutely do need to dress for the role that you're in. But if you're not around anyone and you find it uncomfortable, I much prefer to wear something comfy while I'm working from home. And for me, that means jumper, t-shirt, jeans, just wear something comfortable. Because from my perspective, I'm going to be more efficient and I'm going to get more work done if I'm comfortable. That's a really key thing. That's why there's a lot of businesses these days who don't advocate wearing suits and ties and things at all. Look into the games programming space and IT space and all that sort of thing. A lot of companies, they have no requirement to, you can just wear what you want for work, basically. But as I say, it does depend on the role. If you're in a role that's going to demand respect from employees, or you're going to be meeting important people who there has to be mutual respect between you, then of course I'm not going to wear a jumper and t-shirt to go and see important clients and stuff like that. You get suited and booted for that kind of thing. But you need to just use common sense and weigh up the situation appropriately. If it's cold and it's winter and it's more comfortable to wear a jumper and t-shirt, then wear a jumper and t-shirt. But if you're more comfortable wearing a shirt and a tie and a suit, even if no one's going to see you, then go for it. It's all about, is it going to make you work more efficiently? You know, you've got to be comfortable when you're doing your work, no matter where you are. And this neatly brings me on to another point, because when you work from home, you need to try and segregate your work life from your home life. because otherwise everything starts to just blend into one, and that's quite a dangerous situation to end up in, because you'll almost without realizing it, you'll start to work much, much longer hours, and you'll start to pull in 12, 14-hour days without even realizing it. And you'll start working on weekends, and you'll start you'll have your tea with your family, and then you'll go back to work and start doing more work. Don't get me wrong, the flexibility involved in home working absolutely lets you do that, but don't burn yourself out, and also try and segregate your work life from your home life. And it's just little things that you can do. For example, wearing a work uniform of some description is a thing worth considering. Certainly if you're in the trades, whenever I've been working on houses and in customers' properties and things, then I would absolutely be wearing a work uniform for that. And I would get changed out of that when I got home and wear something more comfortable. For me, for admin type work, which is predominantly what I do these days, because it's all video editing and spreadsheets and website updates and all that sort of thing, for that kind of work, what I'm wearing now is absolutely fine. So it does tend to mean that I'm wearing the same clothes all the time, whether I'm at work or it's the weekend or it's the evening. It's the same kind of stuff that I'm wearing because it's the stuff that I'm comfortable in. So you need to come up with another way of segregating your work life from your home life. And I've got daft little things, like, for example, I like to drink coffee. As you're probably aware, drink coffee, make stuff is one of my kind of mottos in life. And I have my coffee out of specific work mugs through the week when I'm working. So I've got like my Gosforth Handyman mug, that's a work mug. I've got like my I Love Spreadsheets mug, that's absolutely a work mug. On the weekend, I never drink out of those mugs. On the weekend, I've got like my weekend mugs, like my my tractor mug, because I like playing Farming Simulator. Very sad, but we'll come to that in a minute. You need some way of winding down and switching off from work. Whatever your leisure and recreation activities are, then you make sure you do it. You've got to have something that lets you just switch off from the day-to-day stuff. But other things, little treats. For example, on a weekend is the only time where I'll have maybe a shot of like a caramel or something like that in my coffee. I'll never do that through the week. It's my little weekend treat for when I'm not working. And you've got to have this to try and segregate, or I find I have to have this to try and segregate my work life from my home life. It's to the point that if someone makes a cup of coffee for me on the weekend and they've done it in a work mug, I will pour it into my weekend mug, because I find if I start to blend the two together, it's a slippery slope. And suddenly you find that you're working all the time. And there's nothing to segregate whether or not you're at work, because you're in the same space all the time, especially in this situation where my office is in the dining room. I'm not even in a separate room in the house. But I'll explain why I've gone down this route. It's a bit of an experiment, having the office in the dining room. One of the main reasons is because I found that over the years of having an office in a separate room in the house, that room over time really just started to feel like work. It felt no different to just going into the office, with the downside that you're on your own all day and you have like very limited social interaction. So it started to become quite a depressing space. And the last thing that you want to do is, if you're working from home, is for your office to become a place that you don't want to go to. And obviously there's ways and means that you can decorate the room how you want. You can set your desk up how you want, make it like a really pleasant place to be. Trust me, after 12 months, it'll still feel like you're going to work. It makes no difference that you're at home. It'll still start to feel like you're just going into the office. And for that reason, I wanted to try putting the office into the hub of the home, into our dining room, where at least I'm around other people. So if the family come home, I can have a chat with them. If my wife's around and she's working as well, we can chat with each other because she works from home as well. And it just means that we've got some sort of social interaction, because otherwise I can go literally weeks without speaking to anyone. And that I don't think is very good for your mental health. So I do think you need to take that into consideration. If you've been working in a big kind of call centre environment or something, and you've now transitioned to working on your own from home, once the novelty wears off, you need to be careful, because not everyone's cut out for that level of loneliness to a degree. And I think this is something that we're maybe going to see the implications of this in maybe 5 years' time or so, once more people start to work from home. Because bear in mind that in my past roles, I used to design home working solutions. I used to work a lot with Citrix technologies and various ways of letting people remotely connect in to their offices and things. And it was a struggle to get people to adopt that technology. And now it's becoming commonplace. So whereas before it used to only really be the people who really needed to work from home would work from home, but now it's becoming a much more commonplace thing where you phone up your bank and the person who you're speaking to on the other end of the phone, it's like, oh yeah, I'm working from home, it's great. And it's like, yeah, come back to me in 1 or 2 years' time and tell us how you're doing, because I think you will miss the office. I miss the office, but for me, office life is completely gone now. It wouldn't work at all with the sort of work that I do, but I do genuinely miss working around colleagues and friends in an open plan office. So do bear that in mind. The biggest downfall, and it was an obvious one really, and I knew this was going to be a problem, but the biggest downfall of having the office in the hub of the house is that I get interrupted all the time. And sometimes the interruptions are nice, you know, if I'm in the middle of editing a video and I just need a bit of a break from editing, and I've maybe been sitting with my head in front of the computer screen for 6 hours straight. Sometimes it's nice to have those interruptions. At other times, when you're right in the middle of writing something, or you're right in the middle of reading something, and you've got people coming up to you asking you questions, don't get us wrong, you get that in an open plan office as well, but maybe it's just a bit more commonplace if you're working from home and you've got family around you all the time. So I do have a good set of noise cancelling headphones that I use, and generally when I've got the headphones on, the family knows not to disturb me. That works very well, but I don't like sitting with headphones on all the time. And plus, when you're video editing, you've got to listen to stuff through speakers as well. You've got to kind of have a reference source for checking the stuff that you're putting together to make sure that it all sounds okay. And for me, my reference source is these speakers. I know what they sound like. I've used them for many years. Anyway, that's another whole topic. The point is that working with the office in the hub of the house has worked really, really well, but I could do with maybe another space that I can shut the door on when I don't want to be disturbed, or I'm on the phone to someone, or the other side of it is, am I going to disturb my family? Like if my family just want to sit and watch TV, but I need to phone a client or something, well, what do? I've got no other space that I can go to in this house, and this is definitely going to be a consideration for our next property, which if you want to know about that, follow me on the Gosforth Handyman channel. You'll find all about what happens after this. But what I would probably like to do is not have a ridiculously over-the-top setup like this in the dining room, because it's a little bit selfish and it's a bit unfair on the family just taking over a room like this. But it would be nice to have a space that I can work in the hub of the house, where I can just sit with a laptop, do some blogging, have some headphones on, have the family sitting next to us watching TV. You know, that's a great advantage of working from home, and it just means that you're not then suffering from the kind of social isolation side of things, because you've got people around you. You're not sitting in a little box room all the time on your own, because that almost becomes a little bit like prison, and you don't want working from home to turn into you feeling like you're in prison. If there's any psychologist watching this video, I would value your opinion on all of this immensely, by the way, because I'm just going off my personal experiences over the last 25 years or so, and I found that I need to get around other people. I can't lock myself in a little box anymore, but there are situations where I need to lock myself in a little box because I need some privacy and I need to just not be disturbed for a little while. So do take that into account. As I say, I think the solution is just to maybe have a little desk somewhere, and not a great big setup like this, maybe a little desk in the dining room where I could sit with a laptop, be around people. I could maybe be doing a bit of web editing or something like that. But for the more extreme stuff like video editing and audio editing and things like that, where I do need specialist gear and I need to be locked away, that maybe needs to go in a separate room. So consider that when you're designing your home office and where you're going to be putting your home office. I would also encourage you to get up and walk around every now and then. Again, this kind of happens naturally in a work environment because you'll have people coming up to you and you'll be going to the water cooler and you'll be going to the coffee machine and you'll be going out for lunch maybe, and in your kind of more traditional corporate office environment, you will be walking around more than when you're at home. When you're at home, you can very easily clock on at 8 o'clock in the morning, suddenly at 6 o'clock at night, and you realise that you haven't actually moved at all. And you need to be quite disciplined with that because you've got the flexibility, especially if you run your own business, you've got the flexibility to go out to the gym, go for a walk, go for a bike ride, plan that into your day. Try and plan in some physical exercise of some description. Trust me, you will work much more efficiently by doing that. Even if you take half an hour or an hour out to go to the gym, go and play tennis, just go and do something, go for a walk around the garden, go for a walk around the block. It makes a huge difference. Don't get into the rut of just sitting at your desk for hours and hours on end without moving. It's really unhealthy and it's not good for the mind either. You will work way more efficiently if you just get out and about, get some fresh air, see some daylight, and just enjoy some of the perks of working from home, and that is that you're in control of when you need to be sitting at your desk. I kind of covered it last time as well, but do make sure that your desk is set up ergonomically. Really, really important. I suffered from RSI for the best part of 2 years because my desk wasn't ergonomic, and I've sorted all of that out now. But do make sure that your workspace suits the type of work that you're doing. For me, I do quite a lot of paperwork type work, and obviously I do video editing. I've now got the bigger screen that I can do the video editing on. I've got it on a stand, so I've got acres of desk space for doing paperwork, and that really works very, very well. But design your desk space around the way that you work. So everyone works in a different way. It's your environment, you're in control of it. Another little tip as well, if you've got friends and colleagues who work from home and perhaps they don't live too far away from you, do make an effort to go and visit each other. Just try and keep that social interaction going. I think it's very, very damaging to take a large proportion of the population and suddenly put them in solitary confinement and think that that's not going to have any impact on people's mental health. You need to keep some kind of social interaction going. So if that means every now and then, maybe just once or twice a week, just arranging to meet your friends and colleagues for a coffee, go, have a meeting at a coffee shop or something like that. If the office is out of bounds and the office is shut and that's not an option anymore, invite them round if you're allowed to do that. If it's nice weather, you can chat out in the garden, and trust me, mental health and mental well-being, if you are going to start working from home, is such an important factor. And as I say, I think this is going to come out more and more over the coming years, because at the moment there seems to be this huge drive to get everyone to work from home without really considering the social aspects of it and what it means to not be around your friends and colleagues anymore. And trust me, that does have an impact on your life. Another consideration that not many people talk about, in fact people tend to kind of perpetuate the myth to the opposite of what I'm about to tell you, is the environmental aspects of working from home. A lot of people seem to be pushing this working from home narrative on the basis that it's somehow going to be good for the environment. I'm not 100% convinced by that, and I would love to see some actual proper studies confirming either way. I think it would be quite interesting. But in a nutshell, when I'm working from home, our energy utilization roughly doubles. So this is kind of coming from the standpoint of, if you're working in a corporate environment, like in a call center or something like that, then you're probably going to have the central heating switched off or turned down while you're at work, and then it normally comes back on when you come home at night. You're not like heating an empty house, basically. If you are heating an empty house, then working from home is not going to make any difference, but that's another matter. If you're running things as efficiently as possible and you're turning the heating down through the day and turning it on again at night, then I would argue the point that it's probably more efficient to heat one big office that holds 200 people than it is to heat 200 homes. I'm not sure. I might be wrong. Maybe someone will do some studies to prove that either way. But to me, it just makes logical sense that one big central heating system is going to be more efficient than 200 little central heating systems. So it's something to consider, and just something to consider cost-wise as well. While I'm working from home, our utility bills are roughly double what they would be if I wasn't working from home. So bear that in mind. And I know you're not going to have all the implications of driving to work and whatever carbon footprint that you have, because maybe you're driving an hour to and from work every day. Yeah, I don't know. There needs to be studies on this, because whether or not your use of having central heating on in a house all day versus the carbon footprint offset of having to drive backwards and forwards to an office every day, I don't know. We certainly use a lot more energy in the house because of being in the house all the time. You can't just have one room in your house heated. You can't have it so that you're just heating your office room, the rest of the house is Baltic, so that when you come down to have a cup of coffee or something, you're having to put a jacket on because it's so cold. It doesn't work like that. When you work from home, you have the central heating on in the whole house. That's generally how it works in the UK anyway. Obviously, if you're in part of the world or part of the UK where it's warmer or it's summertime, then the implications of that are going to be different. But it's just something to consider. Let's see where the science goes on it. But I wouldn't take for granted that working from home is good for the environment. There needs to be studies to prove that, I think. A couple of warning signs to look out for if you are working from home and you think that things aren't quite right. Are you feeling more lethargic than normal? Are you becoming more introverted and you're not really up for meeting people or even talking to people on the phone? Do you find you're not sleeping very well, or you're generally tired from day to day? Are you putting on weight, or perhaps you've even lost weight? Do you find you regularly forget what day it is and one day just blends into the next? And are you feeling generally down, or things just aren't quite right? If you think any of those things are a problem, then do speak to someone. Try and get some professional help. Speak to your employer, speak to a family member, perhaps speak to your doctor about it. Don't just let it drag on and pretend it's going to sort itself out, because it probably won't. Sometimes a really simple tweak to the way that you're working from home can make a world of difference in the long term. So I think that'll do for now. We'll maybe do a follow-up in 6 months or so once I've gone through some of your comments down below. Please do pop comments down below if either you've been working from home for a long time and you've got a few tips that you want to share. Maybe I've missed something, or maybe you've just started working from home and you want to share your experiences, because I would love to hear from you as to how you're getting on, and I would also be very interested to hear how that opinion maybe changes over time. I'm definitely not saying don't work from home. I'm just saying there's pros and cons to everything, and you need to weigh things up so you don't go insane sitting in a tiny little box room in your house with the central heating turned off and a winter jacket on, trying to keep your heating bills down while not seeing anyone for 6 months at a time. You do need to be a little bit careful. Any psychologists who can give some input on the mental health aspects of working from home as well would be massively appreciated. Please pop them down in the comments below, or any links to studies that kind of go into this in a bit more detail. I think that would be very interesting for people. For now though, I've got a lot of videos to edit, I've got a lot of website updates to do, and my coffee's getting cold, so I best get back to it. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. I shall see you next time. Tatty bye!